Alright, welcome back. As I promised, I wouldn't make you watch me do this for several hours, so now a couple hours later I got this all ready for the next step. Now what I did was I left a few little areas undone so that I could show you the little final details in some of these things that are pretty effective. So we're going to go ahead and bring this up in here. Go grab our mixer brush. We're going to go with a smaller brush. What we're going to do with the eyelashes is we're going to start up high in the eyelashes and we're going to pull them through. And this is a real light push down heavy to begin with, and then you come up and do a little flourish down at the end where you kind of hook your brush upward a little bit, and that gives you that little feathered in. We're going to push some back in and come up to the eyebrows, and we're going to do a little bit, pull some of that base in there to give us a little separation between the eyebrow and the eyelid. Going in a little bit closer, we're going to fix that little piece of the nose there. Going to hook that in. There we go. So go on that little heavy down push, followed by a little release of pressure as you hook away. Gives you kind of that nice feathered look with these nice long eyelashes. She's looking down, she's being contemplative. It's a little bit better on the story here. So the next thing we're going to do is with impressionistic paintings, they use a lot of complementary colors to accent things. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to select a color here. We're going to go back to our regular brush, put a little smaller brush here, and we're going to select the complementary color to this reddish tone that we have this kind of prevalent throughout the skin shadow here. So we're going to go ahead, hold the Alt key down, click on it, we're going to get our number. So we're going to take our number over here. And right down here at the bottom is your color ID. So you can just highlight that, Control C, copy. And we can say, okay. We'll go ahead and switch that out. Now there's a really cool website that is called Color Scheme Designer. ColorSchemeDesigner.com. You can go to here, and what this does is this lets you get the exact colors that you need to do complementary colors. And you can do a mono, you can do a complementary, you can do a triad complementary, you can do a tetrad complementary, analogic complementary, and an accented analogic complementary. And the nice thing about this is this shows you not only the colors that you would use and the highlights and shadows of those colors, but also shows you the proper percentages in terms of area to use these in to get the most effect. So it's a pretty nifty little program. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with a complementary color. Now what I can do is I can come in here, I got my RGB number, I can click on there, take that out, delete it, Control V, copy in the number that I got from the other one, say OK, and it's going to go to the color that I selected. Now this is going to give me the complementary, direct complementary of it. It's right here. And if I look at that, I can see that the number there is 06915D. So I can click on that. So we can go ahead, go down here, double click, come over here, type that number in, 06915D. There's my direct complementary color that I can now use to start building in. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually make a new layer. And I'm going to name it Comp for Complementary. I'm kind of a lazy typer, so I'm just going to abbreviate it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to selectively put that color into some areas that I can then blend through to give it a little more complementary and make it stand out some more. So I'm going to go with a 60% opacity with my regular brush. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add a little bit right there behind the jawline. I'm going to come in here, a little bit more in here. We're going to add a little bit right here, a little bit into the shadow areas. And I'm putting them into, this isn't a shadow area, I know. I'm putting them mainly into my shadow areas. That way, my complementary can run through my shadows. I do have one a little bit there on the highlight, but I'm just using that kind of as an accent between the cheekbone and line there. So I'm going to add a couple right into my shadow areas. And yes, I know these are a little into the highlight areas, but when I blend them through, it's going to make it look like there's a little more depth to that hair. Just because it's going to show me the complementary color, it's going to make my eye think that it's a shadow. So we're going to go back to our mixer brush. Come in here, we go a little bit bigger mixer brush, so right bracket. We're going to mix that complementary color, a little bit smaller one here, we'll come up to 100%. So we're going to come in here and mix this complementary color in. And like I said, you can see my editing technique of going back and forth. This is just how I like to do stuff. It's the way my brain works, not the way you have to do it. There's 150 ways to do it at least. Pick the way that makes sense to you. You'll be happy. So we're going to come in here, we're going to pull that shadow out a little bit more. I do a squiggle as I go down and then pull and blend through, a little squiggle, pull, blend through. Go with a little smaller brush, 2 clicks down, squiggle. See, I can blend that right into that shadow area. That's going to look good right in there, that little hint of color. And it says the complementary color. These are colors that are designed to complement each other. They're pretty much just the opposite color for the direct complementary that we're doing right now. When you get into other complementary relationships like the triad, they're on either side of the direct complementary. We're coming in here, and basically what we want is we want just a hint of that color, not an overwhelming presence. Come up here. And if your personal style is a little more bold in the blendings, that's perfectly fine. This is just my personal style, the way I like to do things. That does not mean it's the only way to do things. Just the way I like to do them. So I would have gone through and done a lot more of this, but I just wanted to get the idea down to you. I did just enough here so that we can blend it through, and then when we look at it, you can kind of see the difference that it will make. Get that right up in there into it, and then pull that down a bit. And a lot of this is just small little movements designed move it around just enough. One thing to remember is there are no hard lines in an impressionistic painting. So make sure that you get rid of any hard lines. You can have a bold stroke here and there, that's fine. Don't do it a lot. Use it experimentally so that when it is used, it does create an impact and draws the eye to it. If you have a lot of bold strokes, the eye will tend to just kind of gloss over them. When you're designing your color placement and stroke patterns, make sure you do it so that the ones that stand out are going to stand out for a reason. You want to make sure that you draw the eye to it. If there's something that's a little bit different than everything else, that's what the eye is going to be drawn to. So make sure that you draw them all out. Oh, there's some more over here. We'll put that over here and see a few spots I missed earlier. This is why I always move around, and obviously when I was doing it the first time I thought it looked great, otherwise I would have gone over it again. If you notice, I'm just blending these edges out so that I'm getting the color, but I'm not getting an obvious area of the color. Just a little hint. Over here I do have a little bit stronger. That's coming down there, so over here, gonna see that up. It needs to be a little more blended through. Now here I do have it a little bit stronger, but that's falling into a natural crease of the eye. So that's perfectly fine. Same thing over here. We want to go ahead and fix that so it's a little more blended out. And again, we have a little stronger line here, but this is a jaw line, so it's perfectly fine. I can blend it down a little bit much so it doesn't look as drawn through. So we can bring some of that back up into there. And I'm doing a lot of just little squiggly transitions here. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, put that in there, we'll go ahead and zoom out. And if I turn it on and off, see how where I added it, it just gave it a little bit of that complementary color so that it's making it look more stand out. Okay, we're going to come back over here. We're going to work on these lips a little bit. We're going to go back to our regular brush tool. I'm going to do is I'm going to select the color that the lips naturally are. I'm going to go up here, I'm going to come over and I'm going to make it a little brighter intensity of that natural color. We're still at 60%, that's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the brighter color right here where the light's hitting it. And I'm at 60% still. I'm going to come up here, hit that a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit D, so I'll go back to my black. I'm going to go to a very small brush and I'm going to put just a thin line right where the lips meet. I'm going to come up here, I'm going to do just a little bit on the nose also. So we're going to go back to our blender brush. Going to come down to a smaller one. What we'll do first is we'll come up here and we will make the nostril a little more pronounced. There we go. It's a little darker into brighter. That's where the light would hit it. It would have a natural shadow right in there. I'm going to come up here with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull darker red down into the brighter red. Then go up into the black here. I'm going to pull it down so it's giving me a little bit of shadow in there that's kind of falling off a little bit. We're going to come up a little bit also. Pull that up into there, and then we're going to go back and do the red a little bit more through there. Come right in here. We'll push that back up a little bit more. If we come in here and we pull that up just a little bit. Give it a little bit of an upward angle right at the very end. Kind of changes their expression if you look at it. To be just a hint of a smile. We'll do that little smile that she's up to a little bit of something. And we're going to go back to white over here. So we'll click on there. Back to our regular paintbrush. So that's 60% good. What we're doing now is we're going to put a little bit of catch light right on those lips. And then back to our mixer brush. Squiggle, squiggle, squiggle to kind of take the harshness out. And then come in and following the natural curve of the lips, kind of blend it in and then down. I'm going to pull that white down just a little bit. And we're going to do the same up here. Squiggle, 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 squiggle. So it gives it just a little bit of variation. There we go. We can turn it on and off. There we go. Okay, now what I would do is those complementary colors and those small little details, I would continue this throughout the entire piece. Down into the legs, we'll put them into the shadows and everything, into the background. The other thing I want to cover right now though is this one hand. If you see the one hand up here, we got nice shadow detail. If we got this one down here, we got a little bit less. What I can do is I don't really need the background colors anymore that I was pulling in from to make the colors blend. So we're going to go down to our basic background right here. So if I turn these two off, all I got is the basic image now. So we turn that one on. That'll show us where we painted in. And here's our regular one. Now if you want to see where you've missed painting, turn all the layers on off underneath of it and you'll see the spots where you missed something. So you can go back in with your, make sure you're on the correct layer. You can go back in at this point and fill in these little spots where you might have missed something. And I'll do that layer. Mostly where I missed it, it's in the dark areas where I'm pretty much got black anyway, so it doesn't matter too much to me. But what we'll do is we're going to fix this one hand right over here. That's it. Okay. I see these now, they're annoying me. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that back on so I don't see them. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add in some detail into the hand like we have right here. So we need some shadows, we need some highlights. So I'm going to go with my regular brush. I'm going to go up here, a little bigger. I'm going to select my shadow color. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my main one. I'm going to select my second painting on top of it. And what that allows me to do is I can come in here and I can now paint in using the reference for where my shadows do need to be based off of the actual model's hands. So we'll add that in there. Go a little smaller brush. We'll come in here. Paint in where we need to. We'll go to black. Put that black line right in there. Boom. There we go. Now I can go back to my regular blending brush. Mixer brush. I've always called it blending brush, so just ignore me when I say the wrong term. And I can start to add in some detail here. Now this is just one color. I will go in and I will add some of these other colors in. But with this type of process, it's a step-by-step, not everything all at once type process. So we'll come up here, build that shadow in. And you're going to vary your brush stroke patterns. You're going to have a lot of little squiggles to blur out those, and then you're going to have a lot of long strokes to go ahead and pull those colors into each other. A lot of squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. Pull, pull, pull. And this is a lot of back and forth. I'm not going to make you watch this. I'll go in along the line of the fabric there. I'll add this deeper red that I have along almost all of my shadowed areas. I'll come in here. I will sample this brightness. I'll put it onto along the thumb line right where the knuckles should be, so that I can create this depth illusion. So this is basically everything that you want to do for a impressionistic painting. A lot of it is repetition, blending, going in, seeing how something gets affected, going back, adding a little bit more. If I want to, I can come in here with my regular brush again. We're still at black. Come in here and add a little, just right under the chin line there, so that I can create a little bit more of a shadow. So I'll go with a little bit smaller paintbrush. Come in here, I'm going to pull it away from the jawline, pull it down, pull it through, pull it down, and then blend these back through again. I said I'll come down here, I'll refine that jawline a little bit more. And this was simply because I put that green in there. Now this is a green with some of that black in there. And what this allowed me to do is create a little bit more dynamic here. So I'm not going to try and do everything in one pass. I'm going to do multiple passes, see how it gets affected, decide if I need to add or subtract more, go in with the colors that I might need to add in and pull them through, make sure I don't have any hard lines, everything, even a harder line like the jawline there, I make sure it gets diffused a bit. Up here, everything is definitely in there. We can come in here, kind of like that. There we go. I'll come in here. I'll fix this bright red area. I'll probably go in later, put a little bit more of that green right in there, but it is giving it a nice effect. That's another thing to keep in mind is make a new layer. If you're not sure how it's going to affect, make it a new layer. If you don't like it, then you can just delete it, start all over again. But once you get your main image where you like it, start working on multiple layers. They really don't add anything to your memory, and it can save you a lot of time if you've done a lot of mixing and decide that you really hate it. Plus you have the added benefit of turning it on and off to see if it's working or not. So these are the steps needed to create an impressionistic painting. Just a lot of repetition, as I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me add all of these in later. So with that, grab some images, start playing around and making some art. Talk to you next time.